Hello and welcome to Really Cool People, a podcast produced by Schweitzer Church. I'm your host, Jason Leininger, and this is a place to hear stories of really cool people. The hope is that as you and I listen, we'll be inspired, encouraged, and challenged through moments of serendipity. In a sermon entitled The Weight of Glory, C.S. Lewis said, "There are no ordinary people. You and I have never talked to a mere mortal. It's my joy over the next few moments to introduce you to somebody who may seem somewhat ordinary, especially themselves, and yet they're a really cool person. Today, we're going to meet Candi Miller. Candi's going to talk about growing up and being a part of the Air Force, what that experience was like, being an Air Force kid, and then finding her way to Springfield, and then finding her way to Schweitzer. And one of the things I'd say about Candi is that she has a heart to encourage a lot of people, and she's always had a smile and a great deal of encouragement for me and a lot of other people who are around her. So I invite you to lean in and listen to the story of Candi Miller. Well, today we're happy to have in studio Candi Miller. Welcome, Candi.
Hi.
And let's start with the story of your life.
Well, it's kind of interesting for some people, but my father was in the Air Force all my life up until high school. And so we moved every 2 years. I was born in Tennessee. We moved to Alaska and on and on and on and on. So my life was interesting compared to most because I really don't have any childhood friends. You know, everybody moved every 2 years. And so when I got out into the real world, when I was a freshman in high school, everybody had gone to school together since kindergarten. And I didn't really get that whole concept of life because we moved every 2 years. And everybody did in the service back then. So,
did you have a sense of friends when you were in the service, like the people there?
Yeah, but not really close friends. You know, the neighborhood, we all lived on base. So there's neighborhood kids, but during the Vietnam War too, a lot of kids' fathers didn't make it back. And, you know, that was sad.
What was that experience like?
Well, it was just one day you would see people coming to move them out of their home, you know, or I'm sure my parents knew what was going on, but as a, you know, child, you would just see the movers come and move their stuff out of the house. And then my parents would tell us what happened. So,
how did other kids talk about that at school?
Really not a lot. A lot, like my father, he went there, but he wasn't, you know, in fighting. So really, we didn't discuss it too much. Interesting, and maybe it was because of my age. You know, my older brother and sister probably had more conversations.
What was your dad's role in the Air Force?
He was a instructor on how to repair the airplanes.
Okay.
So to work on the airplane. So he would go to Iceland for a while. He'd go to Guam for a while. He went to Vietnam for a little while.
What was it like back home when your dad was gone, when he was away?
Well, it was probably easier on my mom because she didn't have to starch his fatigues. It was nice and quiet around our house, but sometimes we would move. My mother was from Arkansas, and when we lived in the Philippines, my grandfather died, and we came back and lived with my grandmother for 6 months until my dad got back. But sometimes we would go visit our grandparents when my dad was gone.
Did you live in any other countries outside the U.S. other than the Philippines?
No, just the Philippines.
What do you remember from that experience?
We had to live off base. It was Clark Air Force Base, and there wasn't enough base housing. So our house had a big rock fence around it, and it came with a police dog. And our police dog's name was Dumbbell. He wasn't a dumbbell, but that was his name. And so it was kind of scary living off base. They told our parents, if when you're driving, if somebody, jumps out in front of your car and you hit them, just keep going because you would end up in the Filipino court.
Mm-hmm.
We went to school half a day. We had a maid that lived with us, and we had clay floors, and our yard boy would come in and he would have half a coconut and put red wax on them and shine the floors with half a coconut. And so, I can't believe my parents let my brother and I go home for the day with our maid. We had to ride in a jeepney, which is what they used as like a taxi. It was like you sat in the back, and then we switched to a motorcycle with a sidecar to get past Angeles City. And their house was on stilts, and of course we ate rice. And then she took us to a fair, and I was kind of scared there, but then she brought us home. But anyway.
What was remarkable about the fair?
Well, the Ferris wheel went really, really, really fast. That scared me. And then for prizes, they had chickens hanging upside down.
Yeah.
Like, you got a chicken.
That was gutted and was
well,
it gutted
I think
and
it was
plucked,
just
or?
No, it was just
It was just hanging upside down. Was it alive?
No, I don't think so.
No, yeah. You must not have gotten one.
I didn't want one. No.
How old were you when you lived in the Philippines?
I was probably in the 4th grade.
Oh my goodness!
And we could fly space available though. In the Air Force back then, you could fly space available. So we did go to Japan once, and then you could go other places, but we didn't normally do that. Our neighbors did because they were young, but yeah. So
then, were you happy to come back and live with your grandmother?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We went to a small school in Omaha, Arkansas, and like 4th and 5th grade was in the same class. And they had wood burning stoves in the winter. And then you had to play basketball, which I was not good at. So, because that was the only sport.
Were you good at any sports?
Well, in high school, I was the captain of my track team. So,
really?
So I could run.
Okay.
Not short distances, just once I would get started on the 100-yard dash, it'd be over. So I was more of a 220 for 48.80.
Those are measurements in feet, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Today, all the young kids know it in meters. So
Meters.
it's like, fun times. You mentioned earlier that at some point your dad retired. And so.
Yes, we lived in Florida. And at the time, that was the last place we lived. And we moved to Monette, Missouri, where my dad taught electronics in the vocational school. He was in the Air Force for almost 30 years, but he was still pretty young.
How old were you then when he retired?
I was ending my 8th grade, and I had a couple months, and then I started high school there, and it was awful because I'm like, where are we? And there were only white people there. And the life I had lived, there was all kinds of, different nationalities, or even,
a lot of ethnicities.
Yes, thank you. Yeah.
So you went from traveling around the world
Mhm.
and traveling within the U.S.
Mhm.
to then living in Monette, Missouri.
That's right. 6,000 people. There were more in my class in Florida than my whole high school.
And most of the people in Monette hadn't moved at all, right?
Right,
And then there you were.
right,
You were this third culture kid.
right.
They didn't have that name yet, but that's what you were.
Well, I learned real quickly not to talk about where I have been,
Oh, yeah?
because people would think I was bragging or something.
Really?
But, I did, oh, yeah, I live there, or, yeah, I've been there. I've done this.
How was that experience then when you would talk about that and then you decided to be quiet about
Well,
that?
I know it's hard to believe, but I was very shy at that time in my life. Moving there, I was really shy. But a few years in, I became less shy. But I really was shy at one point in my life.
You mentioned that you had a couple siblings.
I actually have 3 siblings.
3 siblings.
Mm-hmm.
Are they all older?
No, I have an older sister, then my brothers after her, then me, and then my little sister.
Okay. So how did your siblings experience Monette?
Well, my sister was a senior and my brother was a junior, like right after we moved up there. So they hated it. I mean, Monette's a wonderful town, don't get me wrong. And the people there and from Monette are wonderful people. It was just very difficult, especially for them, being my sister graduated and then she went to School of the Ozarks then.
Okay.
And then when my brother graduated, he went to KU and then he moved to Los Angeles and then New York.
A little more cosmopolitan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And what about your youngest sister?
Well, she's kind of a mess. She's actually, I feel like she has mental issues. She's actually homeless right now and has been for several years.
Really?
But we tried to help her. And, it's really hard on us to watch this because, I pray for her every day, but we've all tried to help her and she's stolen from all of us.
Huh.
It's just she was married 4 times. She has 4 beautiful children that, she had nothing to do with. So we had really great fathers though.
Wow.
So, but that's probably the saddest thing in my life is, and coming to grips with the boundaries that you have to have with some people that you love. You know. We all had to set boundaries with her.
Did it take you a while to set boundaries?
Oh, yeah. It took me a while. My husband and I let her and her kids stay at our house. He was from Nebraska, so we would go to Christmas there. And we bought all their Christmas presents. I made a bunch of food, let her borrow my car. And while we were gone, she stole all my jewelry and hawked it and stuff like that.
That's got to be an interesting experience.
Yeah.
When you unpack all that and figure that out.
Yeah. And my older sister let her stay with her. It didn't work out. My brother has very little patience for her, but has, financially tried to help her. But we know what she does with that money. And that's drugs.
Do you think some of that may have been brought on by the movement or the...
I don't really think so. She was pretty young. Like she was starting kindergarten when we moved to Monette. Huh. But she always was kind of a mess. even when she was little. Like my dad would say, my dad liked to drive at night when we were on vacation, I guess, so we would sleep the whole time. But anyway, he would like, watch your sister, and we'd turn around and she'd be gone. And next thing we know, the MPs were coming with her, and my parents would get in trouble. The military police.
Yeah. That's incredible.
But anyway, she's brilliant. She could talk to you about anything. Probably if you met her and didn't know the situation, you would years ago. She doesn't look too good right now, but she could talk to you about anything. I mean, she's extremely intelligent, but unfortunately, I just think she has a mental problem, but she doesn't think she does.
Do you know where she's at?
Well, sometimes she's in jail, and sometimes I think she's down by Commercial Street now.
Do you see her very often?
I never see her. Mm-mm. My brother, who lives near Drury, he'll see her occasionally. So
you graduated from Monette.
Yes.
Then what'd you do next?
Well, I went to SMS.
Okay.
Which is now MSU.
Yeah. So for listeners who are not from Springfield or these parts, yes. SMS used to be
Southwest Missouri State University.
Yeah, headquartered here in Springfield.
Yes, and it's where MSU is now, Missouri State.
Yep.
Yeah, I was majoring in clothing and textiles, and then I added a marketing minor. I did nothing with that.
With the marketing minor?
Or the clothing and textiles.
Oh, my goodness.
I worked, I worked on, my first job, I worked on campus. But then I was also Boomer the Bear for a semester.
You were?
Yeah. Mascot. And so then I moved off campus and I got a job as a cocktail waitress at a disco. And I worked there for several years. It was called Wicker Works. And it was the place to be.
Huh.
It was kind of fancy. It was where the old Sheraton was next to Friendly Ford. It's torn down now, but.
Yeah, you just said a whole bunch of things I've never seen. So,
yeah.
An old Sheraton by Friendly Ford. Those two things are not.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever been to a disco.
Yeah, you had a lot of people had a membership to come in, and nobody was allowed to touch us or anything. It was pretty fancy. But we would have like happy hour would mainly be the guests staying in the hotel.
Okay.
So we'd have some businessmen that were in often, so they loved it if we remembered what they were drinking or whatever. Mm-hmm. But that's probably where my real personality came out, because now I feel like I'm a true salesperson. But, so yeah, it was fun. I made more money doing that than I did my first job out of that. So
wow,
I stayed in the hotel business, and I worked in the sales office at the Sheraton.
Okay.
And then when University Plaza was built, I went over there, and I was the director of catering for several years. And then when I left, I was director of sales.
Wow. So
I worked for John Q. Hammonds for 14 years. I would go help open hotels when he would build them in like Albuquerque or wherever. And I worked at least 6 days a week, 10 to 12 hours a day. And I really wasn't the best years of my life. I felt like I gave up a lot working so much that I was kind of a control freak workaholic. I wasn't always great to work for, although I had some people tell me they learned a lot from me, but I'm kind of a perfectionist, so I expected everybody to have the same feeling I did. That doesn't always happen.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I worked there for 14 years.
Do you ever have regrets that are overwhelming out of that experience?
Yeah, I do. I have regrets that when I worked there, I went to First and Calvary Church because it was a block away
Mm-hmm.
and I could leave and come back. But I really never had an opportunity to get involved, in that church. But my biggest regret is like just my home life. And, it probably was the demise of my marriage. And so I never had children. And,
You want to talk about your marriage?
Well, my husband, he was Italian. He still is. He's still alive. I didn't kill him. We didn't kill each other, but you can cut that out. But very nice guy. But he grew up in a Italian family where he had 9 brothers and sisters.
Wow!
And the women did everything. So,
where'd you guys meet?
We met at a bar called Ziggy's, which that doesn't exist anymore. But that's where some my friends and I would go to once a week. So, and he moved here from Nebraska, and I knew the person that he came here to work for.
Okay.
So.
And how long were you guys married?
Well, we were together a total of 10 years, but we were only married 3.
Okay.
We were married, and then we got back together, but didn't get remarried.
Huh.
I had deja vu. But he didn't want me to. I'm a kind of social person.
Yeah.
I like people, and I like to get together. And he didn't want me to go anywhere. Ever. So.
You talked about how you'd work lots of long days.
Mm-hmm.
And you'd work 6-7 days a week. Was that like in the 70s and 80s you're doing a lot
80s, early 90s.
80s and 90s?
Mm-hmm.
How did you understand like your place in life and what you're doing, or what were you seeking to do? I
don't know. I just wanted to be successful at whatever I did. And I never wanted anybody to say I did a bad job. My work ethic was really great, I guess I should say about myself. But I just wanted to be successful. And then I didn't trust you. It's kind of like my job now, but, I wanted to be there for my clients. I probably didn't have to be there, but they loved it. That I didn't leave until they had eaten their last meal.
Okay.
But I just, I don't know. I just wanted. It wasn't really about money. It was just about me doing a good job.
Where'd that come from?
Well, I was very insecure when I was really young. I had no self-confidence at all, probably until I went to college. And I don't know. I wasn't very popular in high school, probably because of the situation. I don't know. But, yeah, I just didn't have very much self-confidence in myself. And then when I started working, I worked when I was 14 at St. Vincent's Hospital, handing out trays of food.
Mm-hmm.
But I started working when I was 14. But anyway, I I don't know. It really wasn't about money, although I ended up making good money.
Mm-hmm.
But it was just more of a self-satisfaction thing, which I kind of regret a little bit because I was obsessed with
Affirmation.
And just knowing my customers were happy and pleased,
If you could talk to your younger self now, what would you say?
Don't do that. Don't do that job, or find something that you're more passionate about.
What do you think your future self will say to yourself right now?
My future self is going to say, I'm really proud of you. You've come a long way, baby. And I have.
Yeah.
Yeah. I am probably the best. Well, I know the best thing that's happened to me in this stage of my life is that I came back to Christ.
Yeah.
And a friend invited me to this church in Schweitzer, and I said yes. And she sang in the choir, and the choir used to come down and sit, so I sat up front, which I still do.
Mm-hmm.
And I cried every Sunday at church. I was so filled with the Holy Spirit, something I needed and had missed, because my mother raised us in a Baptist church.
Okay.
And, I was raised to be a better person. I wasn't a bad person. I just got away from the church.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really not a smart thing to do. But now, in the last maybe 8 years now, probably, that I've been a member, I've loved getting involved in Schweitzer. And during COVID, it was hard.
Yeah.
And then after COVID, I remember, Sheila asked me if I'd help, be an usher and a greeter, and I did. And that's how you kind of meet people.
Yeah, you do.
And I remember how excited we were when there were 25 people at the traditional service, But it's just, I love getting involved, and it's just the people I've met and are really good friends with now at Schweitzer have been really life-changing in a great way for me. I have a great support system, and I think I'm a good support for other people. In 2015, and this is kind of when this all kind of started coming about, with my thoughts on my spirituality. I was diagnosed with breast cancer.
Okay.
And in January of that year, I lost my best friend to breast cancer. And 10 years before that, her sister, who was one of my roommates, died of breast cancer. So I was kind of familiar with breast cancer through them. But I was diagnosed, and it wasn't the best diagnosis, but I made it through. And at that time, I realized, because I lived alone, people would check on me and all that, and I was fine. But I had a lot of alone time. And, you start to realize something's missing. Something big is missing, And then I realized it was Jesus. And then I started talking to my friend, Patty, about church. And I said, I really need, she goes, well, come to my church. And so I did. And I really feel like maybe God had me go through that for a reason. I think things like that happen for a reason, that make you wake up and realize, and it's too bad that something like that has to happen. That is the case a lot of times. But I also feel like I've helped a lot of people through their journey with cancer or breast cancer. And that gives me great joy, even though everybody's journey is different. And that, what I tell people, everybody's journey is different. But, this is what I did. And, so.
So what do you look forward to these days?
Well, at work, they keep asking me when I'm going to retire, but I'm not ready. I just turned 68, so I'm going to hopefully work another 8 years or so. We'll see.
8 more years?
Yeah, because
And put you at 76.
Yeah. So, but it's like, I don't know what else I would do, I really enjoy what I do, and I work from home a lot, and I go in the office a couple times a week. And I love my customers, and I'm not ready to hand them over to anybody yet. So, yeah.
You're in sales and marketing, right? Yeah.
Yep. And I've had a lot of my customers I'll be there 30 years in March.
Wow. Did you ever imagine that you'd be someplace 30 years?
No, I only really had, 3 real jobs, not counting the cocktail waitress job.
Huh.
But I've had 3 jobs. So,
if you had a chance to do it again, would you go work at a disco again?
Oh yeah. At that age, it was great. Plus you're working the whole time, so
right,
kind of keeps you out of trouble.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah. I mean, I know what you were getting at, and I wish that probably not. I mean, I see these young kids today. It just thrills my heart to see these teenagers that are like into Jesus. And I mean, I just love it seeing that, and wish more kids. And I really think younger kids are kind of getting it now than they did years ago,
There's always been a lot of young people around what Jesus is doing. There is an interesting podcast I've been listening to some by a guy out of England. His name is Justin Brierley. And his podcast is titled something like The Prizing Rebirth of Belief in God. And he's talking about a new movement among young people to like take another look at Jesus and find their life in him. So,
yeah. In college, I don't remember having any conversations with my roommates or anything about religion one of my roommates was an Assemblies of God. Her dad was an Assemblies of God pastor. She was very rebellious. But, yeah. But anyway, I think you grow out of that. So, but
what are you looking forward to?
What am I looking forward to?
Yeah.
Well, I'm looking forward to watching my great nieces and nephews grow. I just love them so much, and their parents. I've loved watching them grow up, and now they have children, and I love watching them grow. They grow up way too fast, though, and I just look forward to maybe. I went on the Brazilian mission trip, and it was a fabulous, fabulous experience as far as doing God's work. It was a little hot and a little difficult sleeping in the hammocks, but hey, you can do anything for 8 or 9 days, right?
You can do anything for 8 or 9 days. That's right.
So, but I wouldn't mind going on another mission trip. Or one of my bucket lists is I want to take a river cruise in Europe.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
It's only like 125 people on the boat. I've never been on a big cruise, so don't think I'd like it.
Well, your trip to the Amazon was a river cruise too, right?
Yes, it was, but not the kind I'm talking about, where they have, air conditioning.
Well, if you take one in Europe, you might need a heater or something like that.
Well, it depends on what time of year you go, I guess. Yeah. So
the Amazon cruise did not have air conditioning on it?
no.
And you got to sleep in
hammocks.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I heard that the hammocks were rather close quarters.
Yes. If you moved at all, you hit whoever is on either side of you. Yeah.
That's definite fun.
And I'm a side sleeper. You can't really sleep on your side in a hammock.
No, I don't think so.
So, yeah.
I sleep on my stomach. I bet you can't do that in a hammock either.
Well, no.
No.
I wouldn't think so.
No. That would be painful.
Yeah. But, I mean, probably one of the best things other than, giving love to the villagers was the people from our church that went that I didn't know very well.
Yeah.
We're all like sisters and brothers in Christ now. I mean, that was tremendous, experience, getting to know them and praying together and going through the same hardships together and, and all having the want for the same thing, the ambition to share Jesus with people.
How did people receive you?
Very well, actually.
Yeah.
Now, I know some of the men's groups went on door to door. So I can't really speak for them, but I worked with the children, and I understand the women were very receptive as well. So, yeah. Those little kids were pretty great.
What was your task with kids?
Well, we would we'd start out by playing games and they like to play ball. Soccer's huge. And then we had a beach ball. And I mean, we had little kids from probably 3 or 4 up to about 7 or 8, maybe, or 6. And so they kicked the ball around. And then we had bubbles. They love us to blow bubbles, and they try to catch them. And then we had the big parachute that, we used, and they liked that. And then we sang songs. And we had interpreters there. So, they sang in Portuguese, So I would just smile and clap and, But anyway,
be your happy self.
Yeah. And so,
joyful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, it was pretty awesome watching these little kids. And then they would color. They loved to color. And we learned toward almost the last time that we weren't going to use markers anymore because they didn't put the lids on. And then, of course, I had markers all over me. And then we would make bracelets. We prayed, and they're just precious.
Huh.
And it just, when you're standing on top of the boat at sunrise and tears are coming out of your eyes thinking, we are all made in the image of God. But we all have different life experiences, and they consider themselves the forgotten people. And that makes me sad for them.
Are your parents still living?
No, I lost my dad. Actually, he was 68, which is how old I am now. He died of colon cancer. And my mother died 8 years later of multiple myeloma, which is a cancer of the bone marrow. So, yeah.
When you think about their lives and their influence on you, what do you think are a couple gifts that they gave you, or a couple things that they helped you with that has really helped you become who you are today?
Well, it would be more of my mother. My father was until we probably the last probably 4 or 5 years that he was in the service. Drank a lot and that, but my mom, took us to church every Sunday and Sunday school. So my mother was just an angel. I mean, such a kind, patient, wonderful person. And so she just taught me to be kind, and thankful. We didn't have a lot, just to be thankful for what we have, So, and then the glorious thing happened. My dad got saved and became a Christian.
Wow.
Yes. So, and then he was even a deacon at their church in Monette. So later, on. So he came a long way, and it just shows that you can't ever give up on anybody. He was probably in his 50s, So we're probably 45. I thought that was really old back then.
You've said it a couple of different times, like you said it earlier on, then you kind of described it there, like you can't give up on anybody, but you also said earlier that you've come a long way, baby. Like so you've got that real sense of like movement and motion from one place to another in life. But it's not like movement from spot to spot in the world, but it's like within your own development.
Right. I realized in the last several years that don't sweat the small things. It doesn't take too long to look around to see somebody that's worse off than you, no matter what the situation is, There's always somebody. If you think you've got it bad, just look around. Yeah.
Is that how you stay so positive?
Yes, it is now.
It is now.
I just love people, and I just love to make people smile. So life is good. It's what you make it. And I didn't know that for a long time.
One of the questions I like to ask people near the end of our time together is like, what's a bit of wisdom that you've picked up over the course of life that you'd like to share with others?
Well, there's a few things I always like to tell young people, because so many young people go from their parents to a relationship. Learn to be by yourself. Learn to be comfortable with yourself. Learn to be able to entertain yourself and have a relationship with yourself. And then you can have a better relationship with other people down the road. I just, I think some people go from a bad situation to another bad situation because they don't know how to be alone. So I usually tell young people, do yourself a favor and learn to be by yourself a little bit. So, and that my advice is to really learn to lean on God, have Him in your life. And to do what makes you happy. Find a job that makes you happy, that you don't mind going to work every day, because life's too short.
It is. Yeah.
So.
And we're made for some purpose, right?
We all are.
Yeah.
I mean, I used to think the gifts that God has given me were not very special, but I've learned later that they're very special.
Everybody's got special gifts.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would like to ask you just a little bit more about like learning to be alone.
Okay.
What's a secret or an insight about learning to be alone and to appreciate that?
Well, I think some people, and especially today with technology and everything, I mean, when I was kind of learning to be alone, we had telephones,
Yeah.
You always wonder how you got together with all your friends, without the cell phones. But I just think I learned, I went through several relationships that weren't probably great and made me feel bad about myself. And so I decided that I needed to spend some time with myself. I like to read. And unfortunately, I haven't been reading a lot lately, but I got into reading a lot and just going to do stuff by myself, like shopping or whatever, or just being at home by myself, or and figuring out who you are. Reach deep down. Have a heart-to-heart with yourself, Who am I? And I mean, I've done that. Who are you, Candi? Who do you want to be? And then I saw stuff falling into place. And then I had better relationships with people.
That's awesome.
So it doesn't mean you have to be lonely.
Right.
It's not being lonely when you are comfortable being by yourself. So.
Yeah. One of my grandmothers spent quite a bit of time by herself near the end of her life, and she somewhat liked it.
Really, the older you get, like me, it's hard to get me out at night if I'm already home, which I usually am. But yeah, I like being home. But I have a dog. So her name's Gracie. That's
a better name than the dog that you had when you were a kid in the Philippines, right?
Yeah, Dumbbell.
Yeah.
He was a police dog.
Oh, my.
But he would protect us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for this conversation.
Well, you're welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot I did not know about you. And now I know. Do. And some other people do too.
Yeah.
So thank you, Candi.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure.
Thanks for this.
All right.
A big thank you to Candi for sharing her story. In listening today, I hope you were inspired, encouraged, and challenged, and that you begin to behold the really cool people that are around you. The Really Cool People podcast is produced by Schweitzer Church Springfield Mo. Taylor Likes is our executive producer and editor, and I'm your host, Jason Leininger. You can always help us out by liking, reviewing, and sharing this podcast. Take a moment to send this on to somebody that you know who needs to be encouraged, or take a moment to hit that thumbs up button and let people know that you like this. That will help us out greatly. Until next time, stay cool.